Hello everyone, hope you all are well. This is the second part of my review to the firmware update for the Bebop 2s and its stabilization. I said I would try to get some really strong winds to go and test the drone, and I managed to find some wind on the chart, but it's a bit off from my geographic position, just a bit. But it was within range, and I sort of went there and it was as windy as it said it would be. So first thing we'll do is, as you can see, you're looking at the Bebop 2 in strong winds, and it's stabilizing itself, and it's sort of got a pitch angle, and it's rolling quite a bit to stabilize itself. So what I checked to find some strong wind was I went on the chart. I'll put the link in the description for you to go and check your winds. And what this does is it checks your wind speeds at different altitudes. It uses millibars for altitude. So the area I'm going to is around 250 millibars, and well, not 250, a bit less. So we can see that we've got a headwind 30 degrees, and it's at 77 miles per hour, although it would be a bit less in reality to the actual place. So let's get on with the flight and see if we actually have a headwind at 30 degrees. So as soon as the drone takes off, watch the battery drop. If you didn't see that, replay it again and watch the battery drop. It's flying into a headwind, and this is really cold. So we're pitching at 15 degrees and we're doing normal flying, going forward into 26 degrees, so into about, I'm trying to aim for 30 degrees. I'm not perfect, but I'm trying to aim for that. So I've gone past this and I'm looking at the aircraft's attitude and looking at my controls, my battery, watching my battery. So one thing I notice immediately is my battery is dropping as I'm flying into a headwind. So at this point I decide I want to try and do a sprint and ride this wind. So put it behind me and use it as a tailwind to push me further in sport mode, flying forward, and see how fast I can go, or if the update has sort of fixed the overspeed of the aircraft. When you ride a headwind, you could usually go up to 100 kilometers an hour or so, but we'll see what happens. Okay, since we have a headwind of 30 degrees, I'm trying to get my drone into 210 degrees to have it as a tailwind and push me forward. And this is with the joystick all the way forward. It should be pitching at 35 degrees and going really fast, but it's not. And I think this is what they've improved in terms of safety, so you can't go really fast with the drone and have it lose control. But you still can lose control if you stop and turn back 180 into the headwind while riding a tailwind. And as you can see, it's 35 degrees, the drone is maxing out its power, everything, it's pitching, and that's where it loses control. Okay, so back to that. Did you see that happen in the screen? I've slowed this down and I want to show you what happens if you turn straight into a headwind when you're going full speed ahead and then you turn back into a headwind. This is where your aircraft can lose control, and you can see it right about now. It's pitching at 35, it's maxed out its pitch, can't do any more, and it's into the headwind at 30 degrees. And watch as the aircraft loses its bearings and tries to stabilize itself. And then it gets its bearings again and continues to fly. So that is what happens if you turn too fast into the headwind. If you're riding the headwind and then you try to do a full 180 and go back into it. So do a slow yaw or turn back into the wind and then ride it. Pay close attention to the battery. I've put it on the top left hand corner of this screen for your viewing pleasure. And watch, as soon as we take off and we start flying into the wind, our battery starts to decrease rapidly. So I'm going to do a little pit stop and hover and see if it continues to drain at that consistent rate. This is just a little thing that I like to do to see if my battery is actually dying or it's bad or my drone's going to fall. So I do that. So now we're just going to continue. It's fine. I hovered, it didn't drop, it stopped dropping. And then we'll continue back into flying towards into the headwind. So at a 30 degree headwind, that's our course we're taking, and we're flying into that. Now we're gonna do a turnaround and try to fly back in sport mode and see if that drains the battery, and also overshoot the maximum speed that the Bebop was rated at, which is I think 65 kilometers an hour. Alright, watch the power. We're at 78% and we're going to ascend to a high altitude and probably catch a bit more wind, and then ride the wind, so the wind becomes our tailwind. And look at the power at 74%. It's basically just idling on the wind and going with the wind, sort of like a glider. So our power doesn't go down when we're flying with the wind, and this is where people can lose their battery if they fly out with the tailwind and they're trying to fly back. So look when I turn back and the aircraft is using full power to try and pull itself into the wind. We're pitching maximum pitch 35, 36 degrees, and watch the power drop rapidly in this temperature. Okay, so my conclusions with flying in strong winds and the cold after the update is, one thing I noticed, the battery readings are more consistent and more active as they compared to what they were previously, where you would need to land the drone every 30% to take load off the batteries, and the battery reading would become accurate. It would drop as soon as the load comes off. But I think they might have worked with that. I'm not too sure, but I'm noticing this, and I've noticed that in this video with this first flight in strong winds after the update, and also the limitation of having a tailwind and not exceeding its maximum speed, where it basically just glides the drone at idle and basically use almost no power to fly with a tailwind. A tailwind is wind that is from behind the drone, and a headwind is wind that is coming against the drone from the front. Thank you so much for watching this video. It's always a pleasure sharing my experiences with my Bebop 2 with all of you. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And as always, fly safe and God bless.